Welcome to the Run It Studios podcast, talking about running things, literally and metaphorically, with resilience, mindset, and culture in motion. Welcome back to the Run It Radio podcast, brought to you by Run It Studios. I'm Trina Wilcox, your host today. And I guess this is kind of part two. We've got Keisha back, and I want you to tell me a little bit about your project for people that might have missed part one. They can go back and watch it. And then we've got Jay with us, who is going to tell us what makes a production flow with the great sound of music. So we'll start with you, Keisha.
Yes, I'm Keisha McMillen from Liberated Creatives, and I'm collaborating with Springfield Tenants Unite, aka STUN, on a project called Finding Home. Finding Home is a creative community project including a documentary about homelessness and housing instability and how the arts affect that or help us process the grief and loss that comes from that. And we are also including an art installation of a child's bedroom and a few other community activities to get the community involved and feeling like their story also matters, but the story that we're bringing to the community itself.
All right. Jay, welcome. Tell me a little bit about your background in music before we move into the project.
Yeah, I'm originally from Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm the oldest of five, and I tell people that the first memory I have, at least the one that I remember, is banging on pots and pans in the kitchen floor when my mom's cooking. I've always been drawn to music, especially like rhythms, and my dad was any other good dad that had to provide for a family of seven. He was usually gone by like 5 in the morning and often wouldn't get back to like 6, 7 at night, and still was doing what he could to um, have his kids have a safe life and a healthy life. So um, I mentioned at some point I wanted to play drums, and my dad got me some cheap $200 kit. It was like, I don't know, the pride and joy of it. I was about like, I don't know, 11, 12 ish. And uh, the library was a big utilization, being able to get books and CDs and cassettes. And um, I would, instead of being outside playing with friends or going to play basketball, I would be in the basement like 3 to 4 hours a day, just playing on the drums and just basically self teaching myself, which I didn't know at the time. I just thought I was playing along to songs I liked and things like that. So yeah, I did that for basically till I went to college. Um, and then when I went to college, I think that's when I first just start making the transition to actually wanting to be a musician. I tried out for some band, and three drummers tried out for it, and I was their first choice, but I didn't have a drum kit of my own, and so they went with the other one that had a drum kit. And it was at that point I was like, well, I'm gonna save up to get a drum kit because I don't want the reason to be I'm not prepared or ready for it. And so about like 2 years later, I got a drum kit, and I've had it. I still have it to this day. So
Nice, nice. Did you major in music?
I did, but you know how college goes. You don't really get to your major quite right away. I did a class or two of music theory, but the school I went to, they didn't have their focus in the type of music I wanted to do. They were more classical, which I nothing against classical music or anything like that. I just was really into like jazz.
Hmm.
I was in the jazz band. I had this awesome teacher, Al Lohman. Actually, he did a really good job of like helping me, this kid who had been self-taught. So if you think of a library, right, what makes it work is because it's catalog, you know where the books are, right? Well, my library, all the books were on the floor everywhere. So I could do things, but I didn't know why I was doing it. I just know when to do it when it happened. And so he took like the first year of just like, okay, so this is a flam. Okay, this is like a rock beat. This is like a Latin samba, you know. And so to help categorize things I knew but didn't know how to call it unless people played it. Um, So yeah, so the short answer is halfway.
Yeah.
I was I was 3 years into college, and then life thing happens, and yeah, I moved back home. I went to college out here in Missouri. So
Okay. Did you seek out that teacher? How did you find that teacher? Because a lot of people, unfortunately, I know it happened to me, art got pushed aside when you're forced to focus on these majors that are going to get you the career job. And so, unfortunately, that can happen a lot. So, I'm glad you were able to stick with it. How'd you find that teacher?
it was whatever words you want to use, luck, divine intervention, whatever. But it was literally that was the he was the jazz combo, I want to say. There's like the big jazz band. No, he was the big jazz band jazz combo teacher. That's what he was. And he taught drums and percussions. Like he taught the marimbas and all that stuff. And I didn't get too deep into that. But basically, we kind of formed a relationship because he could tell I practice.
Hmm.
He would give me an assignment. He would give me things to work when I come back, and I never figured out how he knew. And he was like, "Well, you're already like 10 times better at it already, even though you may not be doing it quite right. You're definitely not where you were." And so there was kind of like a friendship that was kind of formed there too. So he was like, I don't know. He taught me some like different secrets of how to think about things, not to get caught up in counting, to really get used to like patterns, and like actually trust those patterns and like see where they take you. So yeah, it really was basically he was at that school and I went to that school. That's how that worked out.
Good. Well, you said, a few years down the road, life happens. How were you able to hang on to music? Have you just always, has that always been your heartbeat and you never let it go? Or did you have to put it aside for a while?
There was like a brief moment where I definitely was playing less. I don't know for you guys, I don't know if you guys seen the movie Sinners, but for those who have, basically Sammy, and him holding that guitar is basically like my life with music. Um, when I went back home, yeah, I was able to play my drum kit, but also was having to work and kind of navigate the whole like living on my own situation. And then I don't have a recording of this anywhere. I used to, but this is back before like there was Google Drive and stuff, so I don't even know if I can even find it. But somehow I found myself in the company of some musicians who had a studio, and I recorded a couple of drum tracks for them for one of their projects. And that's when I started to actually get into the band life, because before I played just with the jazz band at
Yeah.
college, so I didn't really have like a its own band outside of some institution, right? And so yeah, there was definitely moments where I had to like play less, but I didn't know this at the time, but music has been this kind of grounding in my life,
Mm.
through all the chaos. Definitely, and even if I wasn't on the drums, there was still some time. This is still during the rise of the CDs. So I don't know about if I'm dating myself or not, but I when I first started to actually like get my own music collection, it was during the time you just wait on the radio and it's like tape player.
Yeah.
You get the song. Yeah, that was me. So making mixtapes and then playing to those mixtapes, and then not just playing what they were playing, but also like finding out, oh, this rhythm works. Actually, I can subdivide this way. That actually sounds really cool going against it, or whatever. So yeah, there was definitely some times of not playing as much as I wanted to,
Hmm.
but I've tried to walk away from it and I can't.
Good. We're glad you didn't because you were able to get involved with this project. How did that come to be?
Uh that how did okay, so I know that either Rex or Keisha, someone approached me about, hey, we're doing this documentary and would you want to do the music for it? And I'm like, yeah, but I'll be honest, I don't know if I know all of the things I need to do music for a documentary. Like I've seen some before. So uh yeah, there was an initial ask. I can't remember if it was like Rex first or Keisha first, but it was one of the two. We had the meeting and I remember just kind of in my head when we're talking about the original timeline, and I'm just thinking, just from an editor standpoint, I'm just like, okay, so 24/7, that's how I'm gonna be putting on this project, right?
We were so naive. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing I think that like kind of was kind of cool. The thing I do remember the most about is that even the people I didn't know, all the people in that room, I felt like that at any point in time I was going to have to like fight them for what I wanted to bring to the table. If anything, it would just be this discussion about like, well, we're not feasible to do this or it's not realistic, but never like you can't do it. And so that's like what I remember the most about the first meeting was like, oh, I might be able to actually do my kind of creation or dream here. Like I might be able to cultivate something here. So yeah, I can't
Definitely.
remember who told me or how I got into the project, but I do remember the first meeting.
Yeah, I definitely brought the project to Rex, and I remember it being something like, "Hey Rex, I have another crazy, ambitious, wild dream here. Want to do it?" And Rex is like, "This wouldn't be the first time I said yes to a crazy Keisha ambitious dream, so let's do it." Um, I met Rex and Jay around the same time back in 2020, in the passing of George Floyd. A bunch of artists of color in the community came together and wanted to showcase our art and showcase who we were as artists of color. And we formed this group called the Artist Empowerment Collective. And for about 3 years, we did an event called Show Your Colors, where we just brought in multiple different artists to create this big, cohesive night of celebration. And our first year, Jay did music and poetry for the event. And that's how I connected with Jay. And I just remember sitting in the audience, not really knowing who Jay was, but listening to their poetry and just being like, oh, this is making me emotional. It's moving me some type of way. I want to add more elements to the poetry, and see like how does Jay's poetry and music come together and connect? How can we showcase that even more? And I remember Jay and I getting coffee not that long after, and then we just like sat and talked for hours. And that's Jay and I's relationship. Just the other night, we're on the phone and we're just like, we've been at this for like a couple hours. Like, we can keep going. We need to, but I knew that for Finding Home, I wanted this to be a unique project where we brought in multiple different types of artists and try to figure out a way how to bring all these disciplines together for one cohesive project and storytelling in a very creative, artistic lens, but do it in a way where each individual artist can also shine and showcase
Mhm.
their talent contributions. And so Jay is also the one who founded a local band called Unessential Jane. And seeing Jay perform in Unessential Jane, and also Jay does DJ work as well. He goes by DJ Byrd. Um, and our love for music and poetry, I just knew that Jay is someone who is not afraid to challenge themselves when it comes to music and is willing to learn new things. And, a lot of us in this project kind of went in knowing like we're enthusiasts about film, we have some film experience, but none of us have ever made a documentary before. And we're
Yeah.
kind of just we're going to do what we can. And so there was a lot of creative freedom for Jay to just, hey, I think this should sound like this. I want to add these elements to it. And, we were both like, Robert Glasper, this is a, inspired artist that we kind of want to bring into this project with both music and poetry. And So to answer that question, as I
Yeah.
ramble,
No,
um,
right,
um,
right.
yeah, I just remember approaching Jay, and maybe it was Rex, maybe it was both of us
I that's what I'm
simultaneously.
saying. I feel like both of you guys at one point were just like, I don't know if it's like a confirming the other one, but whatever.
Well,
But
going
like,
to happen.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like, who do we bring on to this? And then we're both just like, oh, duh, Jay. Who else?
So Jay, as you know, the artist and the person that's basically scoring this documentary, helping someone else's dream be translated onto, the screen. What was it like to prepare for finding the right sound for that? And, we all watch shows and often the music it drives how we feel, how we're supposed to feel, and all of those things. What was that like for you?
um, it's one of those traps that I try to avoid because I find myself sometimes in rooms with musicians or artists that kind of get caught up in like, oh, you're supposed to do it this way, and you got to do this and carry the one and all this other stuff. And I just remind myself that I know what I like, and what I
Mhm,
like sounds good. So does it sound good in this moment? Um, and we all know emotions sometimes are illogical. So there's some of that illogical factor that kind of like, okay, does it sound this way because I wanted to sound this way, or does it sound this way because this is like the appropriate sound, the appropriate way to complement what's already there. Like, do I need
mhm,
to add something to it, or do I need to just like, contrast it? So the sounds kind of came from just really just like one, I wanted it to be heavily like either original works or like local music.
yeah.
Um, I just really I'm really just kind of like turned off with like big names just for the sake of big names, right?
Mhm,
Like
mhm.
for every Beyonce, there's 100 talented artists that are not that are undiscovered.
Yes. Yes.
And so I really wanted to just, and I myself included, I feel like, I think like my community may know my name and people may know who I am, but like in the grand scheme of things, no one knows who I am. So it's just like also like thinking like how do I do this in such a way that like not only would it complement the film, but also like I don't know, I can start to discover my sound,
Mhm,
because like
mhm,
it's not there yet. Like I'm still figuring it out. I'm still trying to like work it all out. But I think the big thing for me was like with finding home was just like, I don't know, just playing with the tension of not resolving everything.
mhm,
Just letting some things kind of like linger, maybe even I don't know, some ghostly uh kind of attributes to it, but uh definitely the format was like informing me at first, and then the format slightly changed, which actually I'm not even there wasn't even one way I felt about it. It was just like, okay, this is the new way it's going. Oh, this could work like this, that could work like that. And so I would love to say that I plan for it to be this kind of like Lego system where it's like, okay, I'm gonna pull the blocks this way. Okay, I'm gonna take it apart and build it that way. But actually, the way I was doing the music, that's what I was intended doing because ultimately the soundtrack, my vision is to like have it feel like you're at a club or you're at a diner and the music's playing and the DJ's kind of mixing in the tracks. So that was kind of like my inspiration for it all. So I knew at some point there was going to be like, well, this is a track and I'm going to do whatever with it until the next marker that I
yeah.
get from the visual side. Okay, then we're going to fade out or whatever, transition. Here's the next one. So I think like having just some very vague but like clear end goals kind of
Mhm.
helped me find the sound of what I was going to do.
So, to be a little more technical or behind the scenes, however you want to put it, what's it look like to you to create this? Do you have to watch so many minutes of the documentary and then you start putting sounds together, or do you just have a script? How does that look?
Um, I've been actually trying to watch the documentary less because I actually have been liking the way I've been feeling about it. And I didn't want to invoke fatigue by seeing it over and over again. So I've been trying to like certain scenes, right? Like I would like watch it and then it's like, oh, I feel this way about it. I want to kind of go this direction with it. And then, whether it kind of changes or not, it's like, well, ultimately I still want that feeling, but maybe it needs to like spread out a little bit more. Maybe it just needs to like move over here or there. So I've actually been watching it not as heavily. Like I was maybe like once or twice a week I kind of watch it and kind of like sit with my emotions with it about it.
Mm.
And then from there it's really just lining up um some of the actual tracks underneath the core
Okay,
of, and
okay.
then allowing the patterns to kind of like guide me. It's like, okay, this is great. The last time we watched it, we were kind of going through, or I watched it with them. I was noticing that like, oh, it's definitely missing sound right now. We definitely need to put some sound in there so it can help with like some of the pacing of it.
Gotcha.
So yeah, so it's like I don't remember the original question you were asking, but I think like that's kind of like my approach with it. It's just
Yeah,
like
that's it.
sitting
Just
with it more.
your process. Just and yeah, that makes sense too because I'm curious, if you're not watching it, how do you make sure you don't have something upbeat in a slow moment so you watch it back and then adjust accordingly?
Well, I've been also like again because like we haven't worked on it. We haven't done documentary. I've been working. I wanted to work with the director
Mhm.
because I used to do videos. I used to do highlight reels for camp, and I did a couple of smaller projects. But I was the video audio person. What I really liked about this opportunity is that when I edit video, I typically do edit with audio being the focus more than the visual.
Mhm.
So it kind of, I don't know how it works out this way, but people like my videos, but I'm really like, yeah, I'm just like counting the beats and I'm playing to
Yeah.
the audio, right? So removing the responsibility of taking care of the visuals,
Yeah.
it was kind of disorienting at first because I couldn't initially, like, I had to kind of do things in the dark, which was cool. There was definitely some, the Robert Glasper. I really wanted. There's a quote in one of those songs I really wanted. I know I wanted it for the project, and no matter where it fell in there, I knew it would work. So that was one. There was another track that a local musician, we came together, and I was first trying to demonstrate how easily it could be for me to pop up somewhere and DJ and record people. And so we recorded a track there, and I knew I wanted that in the thing too. So there's like two things I knew I wanted in this documentary. And then from there it was just like building maybe a library of like sounds and tracks that like
Okay.
could work. But I like to have more than I need and cut away than being like, oh, I need to make something real quick,
Yeah.
so for that it was like I never had a problem about like, oh, I'm gonna have this go into whatever, because if that was the case, there now here's a new pattern for me to unfold. And that's what I liked about this project is, again, like even with the rearranging of the orientation of the film and the direction we were going, it was like, oh, this is cool. Actually, I didn't like this way anyway. Let's go. Let's just
Yeah.
do that,
So
It's really interesting you say that too, because your unique process of you're like, working with the film now that you have the footage and you get to have these one-on-ones with the director and the editing team is so different from back to when we were still filming and we didn't have any footage to show you. And so your like role in the documentary back then was very different versus how it is now, because we would just have a lot of conversations about how do we want this to feel? How do we want people to reflect from this? Like, what is the direction we're going into? So it's just really cool to like hear what your unique process has been and how it's
yeah.
just developed over time. And yet still there's a lot of, just, still figuring things out and putting it all together. Like, not so much like a Lego, but like a puzzle. And it's just
Yeah.
really cool to see it all come together, especially like what you've done with the trailer and like how
Yeah.
you did all those pieces and putting it into the trailer. Like, it's been really cool.
I
Yeah, I
guess
wanna I wa
go ahead.
I wanna say, yeah, the thing about earlier in the project, because it's like that was the crazy thing is, I was kind of taking notes about, like, some different directions then, and so those conversations, like, really help because I think oftentimes when I watch documentaries, the ones that get me the most are the ones that do have intentionality with not the subject, not the target, right? But like also the things that are not being focused on.
Mhm.
And that was like something I wanted to capture. And so like yeah, no, it's definitely been a fun project for me because I don't think anyone would let me be able to do it in the way that I'm doing it without having some kind of resume to back up what I'm doing.
Well, now
So
you have something for your resume, and my last question for you is, would you do it again? Do you like it?
I would definitely do it again. I think one thing that I learned, I was talking to Keisha about this too, is that one thing that I'm learning is that like if when people are assigned roles, there is some like whether they know it or not expectation for them to know what that role is. And
Mhm.
granted, I didn't understand what this role was. I was learning it. I was looking it up. I was searching. I was asking
Yeah.
questions. But now that I understand like this role as like a composer or sound, this the score of it, definitely being more vocal about some of the things that I would want up front as far as just the relationship with like the other aspects of the video. I knew that like when we first started, we were still shooting, and actually I think I was on set for a couple of those shots, right? So like I'm already having like this feeling that I had at that moment.
Mhm.
I have some of the feelings I have from that initial set, and I wanted to carry that over, but also didn't want to get it clouded with, because that was like the raw, right?
Yeah.
But as soon as you start editing, it starts to get more polished. So I didn't want to like lose some of the raw because we had started to polish the thing. So yeah, short answer, I would definitely do it again, but I definitely also would like be more. I know Keisha and Joe and Ezra, like they definitely have set the bar for like who I'm willing to work with in a project like
Good.
this though.
Good. You've learned from it. Thank you so much for your time. Tell folks where they can go to learn more about your music.
Okay. Yeah. So, like Keisha said, I am an Unsocial Jane. You can find us on Facebook or Instagram. We have several tracks out, Apple Music, YouTube, and then DJ Byrd. I am on Bandcamp. I have a track out there, and I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and I heavily reside in the 417 Mix Collection. That is just an awesome correlation of EDM music over the past 25 years in Springfield.
Okay.
And you can find me there as well.
All right. Real quick, Keisha, where can people go to see the trailer?
You can go to liberatedcreatives.com/finding home.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Join us for the next installment. We'll have the director joining us. We'll talk to you then. You can learn more at runitstudios.com. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.